Today we have Doug Gaiman, our president of Globe International, and Alan Prouty, our executive director, with us, and we are going to talk about HarvestNet International and our partnership with them.
Yeah, that's great.
So if you could, Doug, can you share just a little bit of the back history on this?
Yeah, well, first of all, we have a more than 50-year history, and we were born out of church partnerships. We were birthed out of a church here in Pensacola, so we've always valued our relationships with churches. They're the senders, we are the facilitators, we manage the details, and those partnerships have always been very valuable to us. So when HarvestNet was brought to us by one of Globe's board members about, 5 years ago, it was during the time of COVID. I kind of remember it was COVID and my book had just come out, and my last book, Before You Quit, came out. I remember that because I gave Barry Whistler, the president of HarvestNet, a copy of it as a part of introducing myself to him, and we hit it off right away. So HarvestNet, of course, is a network rather than a local church, but it grew out of a local church, Effort of Community Church in Effort of Pennsylvania, and now it's in multiple continents: Latin America, Africa, Asia, Eastern and Western Europe.
It's been amazing, the growth they're experiencing.
Yeah, it just has grown.
It really has been.
Really focuses on helping church planners, Christian leaders, all the different fivefold ministry types to excel in their countries, national leaders. And of course, that's just what we love. We send missionaries, and we have international partners. And so it was just a natural fit. I'm from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, so I'm from the same county that HarvestNet is based in, so I understand that culture. And so we hit it off right away with HarvestNet. And one of the big benefits was that they were looking for a vehicle that could facilitate the service of the missionaries that were related to HarvestNet. And so we offered to take that on. We do that. That's what we do. That's our bread and butter. And so the last 2 or 3 years, we've been gathering HarvestNet missionaries into the Globe fold. They're not leaving HarvestNet. They're adding to. This is a, add to relationship.
Yeah, so how has Globe been blessed by this partnership with HarvestNet International?
Well, number one, HarvestNet has great missionaries. The people that are coming out of that county, they're not all coming out of one county, but I know those people, and high quality Christian people. And so we've been honored to both serve them and been blessed because they're just high quality people who are already in service. And so many of them have been on the field already and just we're looking for a vehicle to take care of money and all the details that an agency does well. They were needing that. Harvest was struggling a little bit with how to figure that out as they were growing. And so we added to that, and that has been a huge blessing. I think the second thing is just the relationships with their leadership. Barry's a great guy, and the other team of leaders, one of our board members, Steve Shank, who made the introduction to us, has been a 40-year plus friend of mine, and been a missionary, been working with mission agencies, and then went and joined the team of HarvestNet. And he said, Doug, you really need to get related. The Globe needs to get related to HarvestNet, a great organization. So he made the introductions about 4 or 5 years ago, and we have just been blessed by all the quality that we see in what HarvestNet is doing and in the people themselves.
What could you say that Globe has brought to the table to bless HarvestNet? I know we're on our side looking at it, but what would you naturally just say that we have to offer?
Probably the first and most obvious was we have a robust system to manage missionary money, newsletters, mailing lists, member care, which we always say when we talk about member care, we're not competing with pastors and your good friends, who are providing member care to a missionary as well. But we have a robust member care department that's populated by career missionaries, so they understand, and some professionals too that are in the social and psychiatric and psychology fields that are Christians. So when missionaries have struggles, we have resources. They're not exclusive to us, and they don't have to use our services, but we offer those values, and we add those values to sending churches.
And I would
to
say, also, I
organizations.
mean, Barry is so relational, and we just really come alongside. We're actually, very relational as well. I mean,
Yeah.
so that's been a huge deal for us because we're very similar to the way we approach people. And so I remember meeting Barry for the first time when he came down and visited for our 50th
That's
anniversary.
right.
For our, what was it, the dinner that we had.
Yeah.
And so that was my first time meeting Barry, and he was telling me about their approach, how they took the church to the Antioch church, that model. But that was interesting to me, but what I really saw in Barry was a very relational person, easy to talk to. And so what's nice is when you ask the question about Globe and what we bring, we have that same mentality basically.
Yeah.
So it's really, I hate to say this, but like a match made in heaven, really, honestly, because we've come together so well and just reinforce each other's values.
Yeah. Would you like to share at all, maybe both of you, just the DNA of Globe and our history, kind of who we are as an agency for anybody who doesn't know Globe?
Yeah, so we were birthed in 1973. There have been a couple of missionaries that went out from the church prior to 73 here in Pensacola, Liberty Church. But we were officially organized as a nonprofit in 1973. So that's our charter in the state of Florida and with the IRS. So what is that, 52 years this year, 53 and next year.
53 coming up.
And we started out small, a handful of missionaries with a vision. And Bob Bishop, my boss, when I came in 94 to work here, we joined the organization in the late 80s as independent missionaries, sort of like a lot of other missionaries on the field are kind of struggling, and they're looking for more established connections with an agency rather than just being sent from their home church. And so that was us. We have a good relationship, our family, with the home church that sent us in Indiana. I'm on their funny thing. This is funny thing about this. That was a church plant when Beth and I were in our 20s. We met in the church. I was a college student invited by another college student to go to this little young, well, not little, it was several hundred people, but all young people. Christy, you were a baby at that time.
Not even. I think my parents were probably married and they were attending at that point. Yeah.
So you have the same history, just a different generation. Yeah. And now, 50 years later, I'm on the oversight board of that church and part of the governing team. And which is so funny. Now I'm the old guy. As the young guy, now I'm the old guy. So we have a rich history with that church, and part of that rich history was we were an independent church sending out missionaries to we were the fourth family to go. First family went to Argentina. Second family went to Costa Rica. Third to France, and the Gaymans went to Asia. And then the Penners, who are with Globe too,
to Germany.
They went to Germany, and then multiples after that. So a very big mission sending church. And then sometime in the 80s, the church started struggling with the management of all this. And we were the first, we were sort of the trendsetters. We decided to join an agency. And so we found Globe on the field. We made friends with some missionaries that were living in the same country where we were living at the time, and made friends with them. And I was talking about this need that we had, and they said, well, why don't you join Globe we were called Globe Missionary Evangelism at the time, a mouthful. Changed the name to Globe International because it came out a little easier. And we joined Globe in the late 80s, 86, 87, I think, is when we came to first visit. And we retained, of course, our relationship with our home church. They were our primary supporters. They were supportive of it. And over the years then, that church observed how well Globe treated us, and they started sending other missionaries to us, to Globe, as a result, saying Globe can manage this better than we can. So that's part of Globe's DNA. Our core values is we call it sending and serving. So we're part of the sending of missionaries. We're not the exclusive. Local churches raise up and send. We partner with that, and then we serve the missionaries on the field by providing a lot of these services.
And I think that highlights one of the things that's really come into focus for us lately strongly, is that we bring community to missionaries that are on the field that aren't really experiencing community, which is what you needed on the field. You needed a community. So with HarvestNet, the same thing is where, they have community with HarvestNet, but we're reinforcing that, with them being on the field. We're able to reach into what they're doing, and so we have a very pastoral finance team, which is unusual.
Very true.
We have very pastoral people, and they're always seeing how you're doing, and so it's just it really is truly part of our DNA.
Yeah. And the bread and butter really is the money. It's people need money managed well. And churches, again, this is not disparaging churches at all, because some do a really good job with these kind of it's sort of extra work for a church. The primary work of a church is to manage the local congregation and all of the ministries of the local congregation. So when you add on the world missions component, it adds some stress to the finance department, because money has to be sent a long distance. You got to have
And that's a lot of complexity.
A lot of complexity to that. And that's what Globe does well. I mean, we've got that wired. We have a state-of-the-art financial systems. I mean, we've got hundreds of thousands of dollars invested in software and hardware and management, and we're compliant with IRS law. We stay current with IRS law, both in terms of our missionaries' employees that get a W-2, or they a 1099, that are subcontractors. Those are laws that govern that, and we stay compliant with all those things. And our finance department knows the details of all those things. And missionary in Timbuktu says, "Can you wire me money? I need it tomorrow." We have a method to do that. There's not like, I'll have to check on that one. We have that all figured out. We're in contractual relationships with people that do global wiring. And so we have all that robust system, not only for money management, then for mailing lists and newsletters. We have state-of-the-art printing presses here, state-of-the-art stuffers and cutters and all this stuff to manage newsletters. A lot of agencies don't do that component. We decided early on, when I came, we were doing it. It was more simple 30 years ago when I came to work at Globe, but now it's very sophisticated, really thanks to this guy here. It has gotten really sophisticated. We are state-of-the-art. And again, we have hundreds of thousands of dollars invested in that side of it, the production room. And missionaries love it, because they can send the content in, the pictures and the words of the news. Our media part, it lays it all out in a nicely looking newsletter. It gets printed and it's out the door usually within 1 week. It comes in on a Monday, it's out by the following Monday. And to their mailing list at bulk mail rates. So we keep current with the mail systems as well. And that's the foundation upon which everything else grows from. When missionaries feel like you're managing my details well, they like us for that. It's like, I make a phone call, I need something, it gets done, so.
It's good. So we talked just briefly about how we came to know HNI. Do you want to talk maybe more about how we came to have a partnership or to collaborate with them specifically?
Yeah. I think we started out with kind of that in mind. We had that in mind partly because of our board member, Steve Shank, was advocating for this, but he wasn't the decision maker necessarily. That fell to Barry Whistler, the president. But as we started talking about this relationship and how could we serve you, is there ways we can serve you, we didn't push that as a heavy agenda. I really wanted to relate to these folks, as we're in my hometown. And I liked what they were doing. I liked their global perspective on things. I mean, seriously global perspective. Barry was invested, they were spending a lot of time and money traveling and ministering to national leaders, and then visiting missionaries that were affiliated with them in those places they were going.
Yeah, the thing I love about Barry is that he's not just a visionary, he's a wonderful visionary, but he's also a doer. He's out there on the field, visiting. Right. He's very relational.
Yeah, very relational.
So it was really, it was easy for us to make that decision and move forward to work with HarvestNet.
We just kind of eased our way in, offered these are some things we can do, and when Barry and Cheryl came down, along with Steve and Rose Shank, came down for the 50th, which was 2 years ago, we put them in a nice condo and rolled out the red carpet, and
we wanted to impress them,
we wanted to impress them that we were not some little, little one-office work, So we brought them over and gave them the tour, and of course, and we have a 10,000 square foot building here, so it it does impress, and so they were impressed with, oh, Globes seem to know what they're doing. And so that's how we built over a period of a couple
It was
of years.
very organic. It
Yeah,
wasn't
very
it wasn't
organic.
like we were trying to sell anybody, which we never do really. It was a very organic relationship, and just found that we were very like-minded.
And then there came to be a point where there was a decision made that HarvestNet would encourage all of their missionaries to come with Globe. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, we encouraged Barry, said, let's not force it. Let's not say they have to. Let's just say this is a change that HarvestNet is making to discontinue offering these services at their headquarters in Ephrata, and we recommend that you go with Globe International. Let them handle it. But if you have another option, you want to start your own 501c3, or you have another avenue you want to go. We've done this with other churches that wanted to bring everybody under Globe, and we've always said, let's let the missionary have some ownership in that decision rather than force it. The relationship will be healthier. And so first, the ones, the outliers, the trendsetters, the ones that are bold enough, they came first, and then they bragged all over the world about how great it was, and then a flood came in. I knew that would happen. We've had experience with that, and we try to be genuine around here. We don't put in a pretense of something and then it's not what, we really do have certain values we live by, and that sells itself.
What's been incredible too to me, though, is, you mentioned it earlier, is the quality of the missionaries that are coming to us from HarvestNet.
Yeah.
I mean, these couples and these people are just amazingly competent and passionate, and not just, it's one thing to be passionate, but another thing to be effective on the field. Yeah. These guys they're true leaders, and that's been a really huge thing for us. I mean, we love bragging on them. It's a big deal for us to have these guys as partners.
Yeah. Could you speak just briefly as to how both Globe and HarvestNet strategically are aligned, strategically and functionally we're aligned in between the two agencies?
Yeah, I think, theologically, we fall in the same camps, just an evangelical theology. I'm sure there's nuances like there is in all of us individually, nuances of our theology, but theologically, so the Great Commission, of course, is high priority. The person of Christ, the work of Christ, the message of what Jesus has done for us, which is the Great Commission that Jesus gave, So that is very strongly aligns us, that we have a desire to get the gospel out and help people come to know Jesus and go to heaven. And so that aligns us, and we're doing it, and HarvestNet was obviously doing it. And so we thought, how can we work together, to advance the cause of Christ around the world? And HarvestNet brings some gifts that we don't have. We had apostolic, that word is used in different settings, so I use it with caution, but the idea of visionary leadership, and leadership that wants to advance the gospel, understands how different gifts, the evangelists, the teachers, the pastors, and the prophets all work together to advance the cause of Christ, that apostolic vision, if you please. That was what the church was founded on. We saw that in operation with the HarvestNet leaders. They were wanting to plant churches, advance the kingdom of God in countries, let Jesus become famous in those nations, and let national leaders rise up and be empowered. So it's not colonialism, as the cynics would call it, but it's actually an organic movement, an indigenous movement that has made their own in India, in Honduras, wherever that is. It's organic to that nation. Those are the things we believe in, So,
and the thing I also see with Barry and the H&Is, they're very focused on, you just touched on it, is multiplication. I mean, they're not out to add one or two churches. They're enabling and empowering their leaders and helping their leaders that they're community with to say, we want to multiply. Yep. We don't want to add 10 more. We want to add 10,000 more. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And that's really the mindset that we have as well. And so that very much is in alignment with each other, basically. It's refreshing to see that they want to multiply disciple makers, not just disciples.
One of the things that I like that's a component, it's subtle, and it's not always there in some ministries. So I'm, don't want to disparage anybody, but there's a difference between seeing myself as a primary leader and seeing myself as a colleague of other leaders. And that's nuanced, because some people want to look up to me, and I got to be careful not to let that go to my head and become some kind of patronizing leader that likes the ego trip, I don't get off on that tangent, but the idea of valuing national leaders as my colleagues,
Absolutely.
as my friends, as my equals, that who can bring something to the table in the same way I bring something, and we collaborate.
And we learn together.
And I saw that from the very beginning with HarvestNet. There was this honor given to national leaders, and it wasn't pretentious. It wasn't,
Yeah, there are no token, people. It's all genuine. It's all real.
It's refreshing.
It's
That's
very
really
refreshing.
empowering.
It
It's
really
very
is.
empowering to everybody, because now people can relax and be authentic and talk about what works in my country, what my experiences have
Right.
been. We can learn from each other.
Right.
Yeah. And what kind of future possibilities do you see between HarvestNet International and Globe International?
Good question. One of the DNA points, sort of the genetics of Globe, that started with our founding director, Bob Bishop. He said it in a more complicated way. He said, facilitating those who have a God-given vision to implement that vision. We changed that. It was like, boy, that's a mouthful, Bob. Facilitating those who have a God-given vision to implement that vision. I loved it, and I'm a word guy, so I loved it. But the idea of asking a missionary, what is God calling you to do, and how can we help you get there? When you have that as a value, what it does is it removes some of the empowering initiative that you might have to say, Globe's going to do this, and we're going to recruit missionaries to that. Rather, it says, no, we're going to let God do that and let missionaries be the leader, and we're going to get behind them. I'm not saying that's wrong. Wycliffe Bible translators, we're translating scripture
Absolutely.
and recruiting to that. I think that's wonderful. There's a lot of agencies that are very specific in what their goal in ministry is, and they recruit to that. I have no problem with that. Globe's DNA and historically has not been that. And I have question marks, when we relate to people like HarvestNet, to say, if somebody in HarvestNet has a vision to reach a nation, I'll get behind that, and I'll help them recruit to that. Say, there's an opportunity here. Their name is Harvest, and you know me, we love the word harvest around here. We've worked in harvest fields where the pickings were good, planted a lot of churches. I personally, in Sri Lanka, and during a time of harvest and a time of war, and it was amazing. So if someone in the HarvestNet world, Barry or other ones of his leaders, say, we want to do something, we would get 100% behind that. So answering the strategic question, for me, it's more like, who is going to have a strategic God-given vision and say, this is what we should do, and others say, that's a great idea, let's get behind that and make that happen.
Yeah. We do that really well, and so that's the thing we see about Harvest is they've got it's an organization with plenty of vision, and so it really we love to support that, and we love to collaborate. We love partnerships, and so and HarvestNet does as well. So it's easy for us to just join together and say, let's do this together and move forward.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you both for your leadership and for guiding Globe and just your partnership with so many people across the world and with HarvestNet, and just guiding all of this and showing us the way, really, each of us that work here in the office. It's always a pleasure to sit down with you both and spend time with you. Thanks for sharing with us today, and God bless you.
Yeah, thanks for spending time with us.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Christy.
Yeah.
Great.
Thanks,
Great to be
Christy.
here. Appreciate it.